Everything from overlanding your stock rig to full-on LS-powered 2 buggies on stickies. This is the Total Off-Road Podcast. I'm Steve, your host, and with me is Ian. And this is episode number 2. And my intro.
Deuce. Episode Deuce.
Episode Deuce.
Number Deuce. You get the Deuce. Oh, we didn't plan that one out.
And I get number 2.
It sounds cool, though.
Number 2.
Save the best for last. That's how they word it, right?
Yeah, save the best for last. That's it. I want to give you the go-ahead. That we can break it in on you.
Break me in the right way. We got it done.
So in this episode,
people listened to the first one.
Yeah, hopefully. I would hope so.
Hopefully they've made it to number 2.
I always listen to episodes. When I start a new podcast, I start at the beginning of the episodes.
What'd you
sound like in the beginning?
You have to. Yep, you've almost got to. There's some that you can kind of skip around, but it depends on the topic.
I'll listen to the first 5, and then after that I'll skip around a little bit, but I'll usually try to keep on going in chronological.
It's neat to see some of the new, or not new, but the old podcasts that are, successful. Go back and listen to their first couple episodes and compare. You're like, wow. So it doesn't make it feel so bad. Sucking a little bit.
Yeah, everybody's got to start somewhere.
You got to start it. We're doing it, making it happen. So basically, we're just going to interview you today, I think, right?
Yeah, that's all we're doing here. Just kind of getting to know Steve in a nutshell.
So we're going to start out with where you started. How did you get bit by the four-wheeling off-road?
Well, it's a convoluted bug. It's a convoluted bug.
So it's a loaded bug.
It's a loaded bug. I wouldn't even say it's loaded. So, all right. So back in 2006, so I graduated in 2005. And in 2006, I met my friend Matt, who is solely responsible for the bug.
So you can blame one person.
I can blame one person for almost everything in my life. We can go over that in another episode.
That's a whole episode by itself.
Without Matt, nothing in my life would exist as I know it.
Well, I mean, at least you have a scapegoat.
I have a scapegoat.
High fives on the goods and ass kickings on the bad.
I can blame Matt.
Yep.
Let me adjust my DB level here. We're going to take it down a notch. There we go. All right. We were peeking out. So in 2006, I started hanging out with Matt, and Matt was into four-wheeling. And it wasn't very long after we started hanging out that he bought his 99 TJ. Okay. And then we took that four-wheeling. And that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Did you go to you go to a park?
Just went to Badlands.
Just Badlands.
Yep, Badlands. Because that's the closest
again.
park.
Yep.
So we went to Badlands a time or two in that. I was like, this is pretty cool. This is neat. And at the time, I was hanging out with another kid, and he had a Dodge pickup. I'm like, man, I kind of want a Dodge pickup. That's pretty cool. It's a nice truck. And so I was looking around for those and didn't really find anything that really, suited me that I could afford, I guess.
Yep.
And one day we're driving down one of the main roads through town, and there sits this Aqua Pearl 95 Jeep Cherokee.
Was it minty?
No.
Not minty.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Sub-minty?
All right, so I don't even have pictures. I have to go look to see if I have any pictures of this. It's a 95 Aqua Pearl, so it's that teal color that they did in 95. And it had pocket flares, the stock 10-hole aluminum wheels, or 8-hole aluminum wheels, whatever they were, like the stock ones, like the no offset.
No offset.
Yep. And 33-inch Hercules, all-terrains or mud terrains or something like that on there.
Stock suspension?
Effectively, it had a puck up front and a 3-inch block out back. Okay. And roll up on it, I'm checking it out, and the guy wanted $2,200 or something like that, or 25, whatever it was, something like that. And so I ended up kind of getting a hold of the guy, and he comes over, I check it out, take it for a test drive. I'm like, yeah, I kind of like it, and ended up buying it. So I bought my first wheeling rig in 2000. That was March of 2007.
History has been made.
History had been made. And so from there, 3 days later, so this is part of the bug. 3 days later, we were sitting in the driveway at my grandparents' house where my cousin has his shop at, and Matt lives just down the road. We're sitting there. Another friend shows up in his 79 Bronco with the top taken off the back of it on a set of 35-inch boggers that are bald as a baby's ass.
Yep.
And he's like, you guys want to go mudding? So, in true fashion, of course we do.
Of course, you never...
I'd owned it for 3 days.
Yeah, you cannot wait to put mud on it. Yep.
Yeah. So, this is kind of Matt and I's MO at the time. when Matt bought his TJ, we bought it at a dealership in just like 25 miles from here in Danville.
Yep.
We bought it at a dealership there. We left there to go see an ex-girlfriend. And like on the way back through, we stop off on a mud road. And by the time we get to her house, we've had this. He hasn't had his name on the title for 2 hours.
The ink is not dry.
The ink is not dry on the title. And this thing, you can't even tell what color it is.
You got to test drive it.
It was awesome. So we go out, we take my Jeep. So skip back to me buying my Jeep, which was a few months later. And we go out and we go to, I'm like, where are you going to go mudding? He's like, oh, man, I know the spot. So we go to a neighborhood in the making.
Development area.
Yeah, a subdivision that's being developed. And they've been out there with earth movers moving stuff around. Well, it had rained like 6 inches.
Good and soft.
The earth movers had been sinking.
Oh, boy.
So we get out here and we're going through this mud and stuff. And we get up to these like earth mover tracks. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get through this? And the Bronco, he made it through there. And Matt's like, just straddle it. All right, cool. So we straddle it for like 60 feet and then fall off into one of them. Dunzo.
Game over.
So that's my first me actually going quote unquote off-roading. So we did that. I drove around for a long time. I drove around for, I say a long time, probably 3 or 4 months or so.
As is, no real
Yeah, nothing, didn't change much to it, nothing like that, yeah. And then we went to the Badlands with it, went four-wheeling, and I went with another friend, and it had rained, so it was like slippery. I go out there, like the first obstacle on Orange Trail, I break a U-joint on the front axle. So we go back to the parking lot. We're lucky enough we can buy an axle, so we buy another shaft, stuff it in there, go four-wheeling some more, and it just beat me up. Like, I was not having a good time. They were, like, telling me to go places, like, up and down Green Trail, up to the, like, and Green Trail, and I was, like, not having a good time. It wasn't
designed for the...
it wasn't even that. It's just, like, that was too much for my skill level.
Oh, okay. So
and they were
it wasn't the Jeep holding you back.
No. It was, like, I was new to it.
New, and I'm scared.
Right, I'm going to roll this thing.
Been there. Oh, yeah.
And so they're, like, peer pressuring me into, like, doing these big hills, these big obstacles. Yep. Like, man, I don't like it. So I get back home. And after that trip, I park the Jeep, I shove it back in a corner. Done. It's not moving again until it gets a roll cage.
Yep.
Done. It sat there for 6 months, never moved. And I don't remember what happened, but somebody, I don't know if I caught the bug again a little bit or something, somebody's like, let's go four-wheeling. All right, I'll get my stuff together. So I get it back running, we'll do whatever it takes to get ready to go. Check all the U-joints. This time we do our proper maintenance instead of hanging out with the girlfriend.
Proper trail maintenance
to make sure that it's not going to die as soon as you get out there, and or break something as soon as I get out there.
Done that before.
Yep.
Everybody's been there.
Everybody's been there, yeah. Yep. I learned my lesson really early.
Yep.
So I get this thing running. We go back to the Badlands. This time it's dry. I go out there. I go four-wheeling. Traction's perfect. Everything's perfect.
You're in control.
I have a fantastic day of four-wheeling.
Yep.
And the bug is bit. Like that is what got me into it. Yep. In an XJ on some 33s and a puck and a block. And I was bit, and I'm like, man, I really like this. So I went four-wheeling a few more times. Ended up buying some like 36-inch. Wait, how did I do that? No, I bought a set of 33-inch SXs for my buddy, and he was like, oh yeah, you want these tires? They're like a 33 by 15, 50, 15. And Matt's like, you're going to hate them. They're flotation tires. Yep. They're like turf tires. So he kept telling me, he's like, they're going to be like turf tires, and like, you're going to get stuck everywhere. And I go pick them up. I'm like, I don't know what these are, but they look awesome.
They look cool.
They look cool. Yeah. Back in the day, I didn't know what SXs were. I knew what TSLs were.
Yep.
But I picked these up and I was like, dude, this is awesome. And he kept telling me like, oh, you're going to hate them. They're not going to fit, blah, blah, blah. And, what he didn't know is that at that time, this is like 2007, like mid 2000. It was early 2008 is what it was.
Okay.
And I had bought a Rusty's 8.5-inch lift for it. So I bought a Rusty's 8.5-inch long arm. I ordered that, and it came in along with it. I had the tires and everything else. And he's like, he's telling me they're not going to fit. So I get this lift kit in.
Watch.
And he's like, and I just show up like, look at all these parts I got. And so we commenced installing that. Got that all installed. Took it out for a test run. So we go out for a shakedown with this new lift, right? 8.5-inch lift. And it's more than, he or I had ever had. And so we go out to the Badlands for a shakedown, having a great day wheeling because everything, it just works amazing. Just working. Oh, yep. Yeah, dude. Long arm from short arm, 8 inches of lift. Life is grand.
Yep.
And Matt's like, let me drive it. I'm like, all right. So he goes over this obstacle that we've been up before. And he goes, and I tried it a couple times. He's like, let me try it. Okay. Goes up there to try it. Just full send. Blows the rear drive shaft out of it.
Full send and the drive shaft
cleans the U-joint. Yep, cleans the U-joint off at the yoke, at the rear yoke. This is on the 8 1/4. And so he he did that. We had to limp it back to the office, found a U-joint, put a U-joint in it, got it back to going, took it back out, finished our day out, and then drove it back home because at the time we weren't trailering.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. And I always had good luck. I never had any of my junk break that I couldn't get it back home back then. But that's when we were pretty hot and heavy and wheeling. We'd go probably, if not every month, we'd go every other month. And we did several big trips a year. Like we'd do a 3-day Memorial Day, a 3-day for 4th of July, a 3-day for Labor Day. Yep. Like if it was a 3-day weekend, we were at the park.
But your rig was reliable, so you were.
You did it. Well, I was daily driving it.
Yeah,
I was daily driving it,
so you had to have it reliable, or you weren't going to work.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So you had to have it, and so then in late 2008, I had got. So that would have been for my birthday. I ended up buying a set of 1/2-ton axles. So I went out to the junkyard, found a '79 Ford Bronco, and I nabbed the 9-inch and the 44 out from underneath of it. And I picked those up, and then I went to the bank, got me a loan, because that's how you build things.
Back then it was, yeah. Like, I ain't got no money for this.
I got a loan for like $3,500.
Yep.
To build these axles and whatever else I wanted to do to them. And so I ended up, I built them 513 gears, lockers, and I didn't do chromo shafts up front, which was dumb. I bought a winch and some other crap. I don't remember what it was now. The money was not spent well enough. But I did all that, put it all together. Or I started getting the axles together. We go to the Badlands for I think it was the Labor Day, the last 3-day weekend that we had in the summer. Mm-hmm. We go to the Badlands. We're like, we're going to go to the Badlands for the whole weekend. At this point, I'm trailering. I'm able to trailer. And I welded the front and rear diff.
Oh boy!
Now we're locked.
That's a good thing on paper.
This is well. So the plan was I already had the 9 and the 44 modelly built. Mm-hmm. Like they were starting to go together.
Yep.
I had the pieces parts, and I was like, we're just gonna weld everything up full locker status.
See what happens.
And we're gonna send it
full send.
Oh, dude, I got turtled on a rock in the quarry. Just set it on the limiter.
Full send, all the full sends.
I didn't break anything.
Oh man!
I beat those things. Insane. I was trying to break them. Didn't break a thing.
That's the concept. If you didn't care if they broke.
I didn't.
If they broke, you would have been laughing.
Yep, I'd have been laughing.
That's the thing. If you would have been upset,
back to the trailer.
It would have broke. Yep, that's the rule of wheeling. If you're mad,
so we ended that trip. I went back. I was still daily driving it, and the front pinion bearing went out. Mm-hmm. So I just pulled the front shafts out.
Yep.
I took the stubs and put them back in the wheel bearings and called it a day.
Let it ride.
Yep. And started to really put time into getting the truss on the 44 and getting the brackets on it for the 4-link, like the radius arms and all that stuff. Started really getting it together so I could put it together.
Yep.
And then I went to dinner one night or maybe it was lunch. Either way, went out to a restaurant one night, went to leave. It was raining. Thought I was going to be cool because, it's a locked rear end. You can slide that thing anywhere you want.
I know what I'm doing.
She slid all the time. Dude, I goosed that thing on concrete. Kaboom! I was like, uh-oh, that's not good.
That's not a sound you want to hear.
I broke I limped it back home because it wasn't very far. It was over here at Red Lobster.
Yep.
And I limped it back to the house I lived at the time. I got in the driveway, put it in park. It caught enough to stop. called up my buddy. I was like, go grab a trailer. We're towing this thing out to the shop and let's go park it.
Yep.
And I ended up taking it apart like a year later, and it broke the carrier in half. Like it broke the spiders and everything, and it broke the carrier in half and dropped the pin. The pin actually was making its way out. Yep. Okay. So that was the noise I heard. Oh, it was upset. Yep. So that was, and then from there, winter of 2009, I put the Dana 44 and the 9-inch under it, and I've been rocking those axles ever since. I've broken a couple of Dana 44 shafts, and then I started welding the caps on them. These are stock 44 shafts.
So that's what I've tried that a couple times, where you tack the caps on. Seemingly the concept is that the cap comes loose.
Yeah.
Comes out of...
It stretches the ear.
Yes, and so tacking those caps will strengthen that thing. My problem is I have an LS, so
yeah,
it doesn't care.
In 40, and you had like basically 39 and a half
days. But yeah, and the thing is, because I tried tacking the caps, it didn't make a damn bit of a difference. But I have heard, that's where I got the idea from, because people would always talk about tacking those caps, and it makes logical sense. So I mean, obviously, if the axle is under an appropriate rig, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that it worked, because for me, I don't think that was my problem. I think
I kept getting down into mud holes. So when I did the half-ton axle swap, 9 and 44 swap, I went up to 38.5-inch TSL SXs. And
you on bead locks?
Not at that time.
Not up that time. Okay.
Nope, just on some 1510s.
Yep.
And so I'd always get down into a mud hole, and I'd be working the wheel back and forth, and that's when I would do it. As soon as I grabbed that wall good and hard, with the tires spinning, with wheel speed, it would stretch that ear out and just break the ear off, and then just everything else KO'd. Yep. So I started tacking the caps, and that solved that problem. However, that does not strengthen the shaft itself.
Yep.
So I started breaking those. And then in 26, so that was just kind of how things went. We kept four-wheeling like that. Not a lot changed with the rig. We went to Redbird and Badlands a lot. I'm trying to think anywhere else I've been in my rig. I really haven't been that far. But we didn't have funds back then.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when you could go to the Badlands, which is, you could be checked in and in the park in less than an hour.
Yeah, from time to leave the house.
That's the worst part. It's almost a negative. Because why go somewhere else when I can go there? I mean, even if you get to know the park, you get to know the park, you get to know the exit. I'm like, I brake here, I know how to get out easily, and it makes it familiar. Stuff. Yep, it makes it familiar for you. So I mean, I get that.
And there's still obstacles big enough there that I can't really do them in my jig, in my Jeep, my rig. But the park gets boring when you go there all the time.
Yep.
But if you go there and somebody else leads, or as we like to call it, freestyles, it changes everything.
Yep.
And so then it gets pretty cool. But either way, we were wheeling all the time, doing this and that, whatever. And in 2016, I wanted to go through and redo a few things on the Jeep. And Matt, at this time, had rolled his XJ.
I remember that was about right at the time I think I met him, was he had rolled his Jeep.
Yeah.
And was like done off-roading.
When he was done off-roading, he was done with that rig.
He was done. Yeah, that one was.
That one was getting
not coming back. Sold. It was a done. I think that was right about the time I met him. Was when he had just done that. It was still fresh.
He was gearing up. After that happened, he'd bought another Cherokee and was gearing up to build a crew cab. It was going to be a crew cab Comanche build.
I remember hearing the thoughts of this.
There was a lot of money put into that, and it got scrapped. He bought a cab,
which is depressing.
Yeah, he bought the Jeep, then he bought a Comanche cab, rust free out of
which
Oklahoma.
I don't even know how you find one of those, but
he had his buddy Paul on it. He found it. And Paul picked it up out of Oklahoma or Texas or something.
Yeah, it wasn't around here
from a junkyard, but he did that, and then he went on to get the doors. We got 2-door doors for it because we're going to make the back doors nice and long with a full window.
Yep.
So we got 2-door doors from a 96 and down. And we worked on those, trying to get everything figured out. He had one of them built. Like he'd cut a couple doors up and built this door, and he'd come up and had to fix. There's a lot of complications with trying to get that cab to work.
Yep.
But had it all figured out, and then was like, never mind.
Game change.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and we'll get into that in another podcast about Matt.
We'll have to bring him on here.
Yeah, we will. Whenever he's not out of town.
Rig. Real nice rig.
Yeah. So, but anyway, in 2016, after he'd rolled his, he sold me everything out from underneath the front of his, and he had chromo shafts and a Detroit up front. So we swapped my 513 gears over to his axle.
Yep.
Got his chromos, all new ball joints, everything up front. Yeah, all the goodies. Bought all that. At this point, it's still on a Rusty's 8.5, essentially. But obviously, it's been axle swapped, which gave me like an inch or two of lift. And then at one point, I had a puck on it. Huh?
38.5 still?
38.5 still. Okay. At one time, it had like... The lift would have been like... It was like 8.5-inch spring, plus a 2-inch puck, plus the axle, the perches on the axle set up a little higher. It was like something stupid, like 10 or 11 inches of lift on a Cherokee. It was dumb.
I've been there. Yep.
It looks cool.
It does.
I mean, it's the coolest thing when you're rolling through a parking lot. This is something I always loved when I was that tall. You're rolling through a parking lot and kids just stop in their tracks and like point. They're like, monster truck.
And you're like, yeah.
I loved it, dude.
Until you're side hilling it.
Until you're side hilling it.
Then it's not cool to be tall.
And then you're not side hilling.
Yep. And then you're not, I don't know what they call that after you flop down a hill, but it ain't side hilling.
You're flop hilling it.
You're flop hilling. Yeah, we should coin that.
Flop hill?
Must be this tall to not flop hill.
It must be this height not to flop hill. I like that. Yep. So it was huge. So in 2016, I bought all that stuff. My brother and my cousin both do body work. Mm-hmm. So I had them come over. We put new floor pans in it because it was rusted. It was just rotted to pieces. Put new floor pans in it. Changed all that stuff over.
Bachelor party prep?
Yep. Bachelor party prep.
Yep.
Which was awesome.
Yep.
That 24 hours of hell and back. This was like a week.
It was like Hell Week.
Hell Week is what it was. To get the rig done. So it goes to my bachelor party, and we went to the Ultimate Offroad Expo.
I think so.
Yep.
Unlimited Offroad.
Unlimited Offroad Expo.
Unlimited or
Unlimited. Unlimited Offroad Expo.
I think that's what it is.
Yep. And that was in Louisville.
Yeah. It's not there anymore, though, is it?
No, now it's in Nashville. I think I'm going to try to go this year.
You need to make a trip.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
It's been a couple years.
So the guy, Marvin, that does the 24 hours of hell and back.
Yep.
He's the show promoter for that. Yeah, I had no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, I looked him up. I'm like, where'd this guy come from? And looked him up, and that was it. Like Flex Rocks and Rollovers. That's Marvin Stammel, and Marvin Stammel is a marketing guru that head up the Unlimited Off-Road Expo. I was like, weird.
Good to know.
Yep, didn't even know.
We could do a podcast from the show.
Ooh,
that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Better write that down. Take notes. Note section.
So anyway, got it put back together in 16. Took it down there, and then that would have been June of 16, and I got married shortly after that, and then a honeymoon, and then I got into polishing. And the following May, so Matt didn't have a rig, and Matt and I always went four-wheeling together. So with him not having a rig, I wasn't four-wheeling as much.
Because he never bought anything after he flopped his Jeep over. There were plans, but there was never...
He was building that.
Yep.
He was going to build that other one.
Yep. So that makes sense on your timeline.
Yep.
And then you lost your close wheeling buddy.
I lost my wheeling buddy, which was my main spotter. Like he could go wheeling with me, but he was busy trucking and stuff. Life got in the way.
Yep.
Right.
That's how it happens. Yep.
In Memorial Day of 17,
yep,
I went to the Badlands with the wife. Mm-hmm. We went to a 3-day, and while we were there, I ran into some guys. They were doing XJ stuff, and one of them, his name is Chris. No, I'm sorry. His name's Charlie. And he has Shitbox Money Pit on Shitbox Money Pit XJ on the Instagram.
Yep.
He had an XJ there on like 4 inches of lift, roughly like 4 to 6 inches. No, it wasn't 6, but it was like just over 4. and they had 40s on it.
Jamie.
And I'm like, how?
Yep.
They had ORIs out back, I think, or something like that. Maybe it was ORIs up front. It was ORIs up front.
That's super low on 40s.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
And it was fairly low. ORIs up front, and then like a bastard pack out back. And I'm like looking at this thing. I'm crawling all over it. Looking, I took a bunch of pictures of it. And I get done wheeling that weekend. I'm like, I want mine to be that way. Like, I'm tired of dragging my shit
the new bug
over rocks.
The new bug has
the new bug. Oh, the bug got bit hard.
The low bug.
Dude, I came back home, stripped it out. So this was June of 17. I started stripping it down. I had new ideas. I want an EXO. I want new front seats. I want to go up to 40s, but that's not really a thing yet. I shaved the 9-inch. I shaved all the shot bracketry and everything off the 9-inch, moved it all up. I changed a whole bunch of stuff. I lowered it. It went from an 8.5-inch lift down to some metal cloak coils up front and a bastard pack leaf pack in the back and some different shackles. And that's now I'm sitting right about 5.5 or 6 inches.
So not quite half, essentially.
Yeah, roughly.
Quite a bit. I mean, a couple inches down.
Dude, it's about 4 inches drop.
Down is the worst way to go.
Packaging.
Yep.
Oh my God. Packaging nightmare. Trying to package my hydro assist, my steering. Like, if I'd have gone full hydro, piece of cake.
Yeah, though that's the... See,
Yeah.
Going through the years with my stuff, I always had full hydro.
Oh,
and while
so
it was
easy.
a detriment because sometimes you could turn a little too much and break some axle shafts,
Yeah.
you package it easily. Like, that's why everybody's all hydros this. I'm like, hey, you go full hydro, it makes it super simple. No, it might not be the best option for you. Packaging, no problem. But yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I had to figure out how to repackage the whole front end, and so there's been a bunch of lulls in there, and now I'm hot and heavy working on it again, and we're getting so close. I can almost taste it.
The due date is coming.
The due date is coming. The due date is December 24th.
So it is coming.
Yes, like I want.
What do you got? A week?
I got a week.
1 week.
7 days.
Well, by the time this airs, I'll
have 1 day.
A day.
A day.
Hopefully it's done.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's done. That's
hopefully
if it's not done, no more.
If this comes out and it's not done, well, check the Instagram, our Instagram, total_offroad_podcast on IG. Check that. When I get the Jeep done and it's back out and ready to go on the trailer, I'll take a picture and post it there.
Officially,
no, it's not officially done.
Oh, it's officially wheelable.
It's officially wheelable, and so this is the deal. Through this whole process, this last 2 years of building this thing, going through and just gutting it and starting over, I've come to the conclusion. I was like, I stretched it, so I stretched it 6.5 inches or 7 inches. I lowered it. I've changed a whole bunch of components, different hydro assist. Completely different steering geometry. I mean, just the list just goes on.
Do you want to talk about your anti-wrap?
Packaging your anti-wrap my nightmare I'm working on right now.
Yep. We'll relive the nightmare.
We can, that's fine. I like talking about it because then it gives me better ideas. But I've done all this stuff to it. Everything has changed. I'm like, I need to go wheel it and make sure I'm going to like it.
Yep.
Like, because what if I do all this and I don't like it?
You cut it apart and you build a full tube buggy.
Body dropped XJ.
That's how it works. I mean, we could make it happen. I know a guy that would do killer work. You just drop your junk in a check and you're done. Have a nice day. Make for a good picture picking it up. Yep. So we have options. There are
options.
Yes.
Yeah. So I bought a Rough Stuff anti-wrap bar for the rear, and I've got it all squared away for the most part. I've been trying to figure out how to get it. So I want a flat belly. When this is all said and done, I want the belly of this thing. I want you to look at it from a distance and be like, there's nothing under that Jeep.
Nothing
hanging down. And so I've clocked the transfer case 13 degrees.
Jeez.
When it gets done, it'll have a new cross member, which will raise it back up to stock location. So it'll be about an inch lift on the cross member to get the transmission back up there. I want to tuck the front control arms up inside the frame rails, so to speak.
Are they under it now?
Currently under it, which isn't a huge problem, but I want them tucked.
Hey, when you want to keep it low,
I want to keep it low.
Smooth.
The end goal for mine is 40s and a belly height ranging between 21 and 22 inches. So when I started this, my lowest point was 20. It was either 22 or 20. I think it was 22. My lowest spot was 22 inches when I started this. When I get done, I want it to be 4 inches lower and still be at 22 inches. So that's kind of my goal.
That's the dilemma.
That's the dilemma.
All the low, but
yes.
all the crap has to fit.
Everything has to fit in the package. So that's what we're working on. So with the rough stuff, the front heim on that thing is 1.25 inch heim. It's huge. And
yep.
I'm like, how am I going to get this between the floorboard and the bottom of the frame rail, which is about the size of the heim joint, and still get a shackle in here? And so I was thinking about doing a slider where the top tube is 2 inch. I was going to slide a piece of 1.5 inch DOM inside of it and put a heim on that and then just grease it and just let it slide on the DOM.
Like a drive shaft, essentially?
Yeah, essentially like a drive shaft.
Why is that not a thing?
I don't know.
We need to explore that because
I can make it work.
I feel like we
well.
were talking about that the other day, and then the whole concept of the leaf spring shackle hanger.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why couldn't you achieve the same concept with essentially a drive shaft slip?
I think it
doesn't need to be splined.
No, it just needs to slide.
Needs to slide.
It needs to not bind is the biggest thing.
So you knock a few thousandths off of a piece of tube to give you room for grease clearance.
Yep, put a couple Zerks in it.
I'm interested now because I don't feel like I've ever seen that, and to say that these days,
I think Derek told me that he's seen it done.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think packaging can be a lot nicer because you can tuck that.
So the reason so now what I'm doing is the shackle is coming up through the floorboard.
Yep.
It sits right behind the driver's seat, and like in the rear floor pan. Which right now, with the new back end, the way it's going to be, I can't have rear seat belts anyway. So passengers are not a thing yet.
Is the game plan to keep the passenger option?
Well, seeing as how the wife has a passenger on board right now,
You just one seat it.
I'm gonna need it. Yeah,
ditch
you could
the bench seat.
You could ditch the bench and one seat it.
Baby, I don't know. What's the most expensive racing seat you could buy?
I can't I can't.
Can you do like a baby suspension seat or something?
Is it Hutchins? So there's a company out of, and Mike and Max Offroad, they did it on their podcast. They talked about it. I think it's their podcast. There's a company out of Arizona, and I can't think of the name right now. I'll try to put it in the show notes if I can remember it. They make a baby seat, racing seat.
That'd be gangster.
That'd
be pimp.
Yes. And I was going to order one of those. That was going to be like my announcement.
Yep.
That's how I was going to announce like the whole, we're having a baby. Is I was going to like, so my new seat came in for the Jeep.
Wait, what?
Yeah. That's how I told Matt. I was like, yeah, I've been trying to do this, but now I got to order 3 seats. He's like, what? Oh, you're going to put one in the back? And he keeps going on and on. I'm like, no. I was like, but I need a smaller seat. He was having a hard time coming across that. He's like, oh.
So the cool thing with that, though, is you could almost plan to ditch the rear seats and do some really killer, like
cooler
cargo
mount
storage. I mean, cooler mounts, cargo. You could mount
refrigerator mount. I mean,
parts. I mean, to kind of tie into that whole overlanding thing. But the thing is, it doesn't take away a bit of functionality.
Yeah.
And that's,
until we pop out a second one.
Yeah, well, then we're going to have to.
Then all cards are off.
Then you're getting rid of your refrigerator.
No.
You're going to have to sacrifice the refrigerator.
Getting snipped.
Yep. Can't have 2 kids because we got to keep the refrigerator.
That's
logic. That's logic.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Nobody would disagree, I don't think.
I don't think so.
But I think that'd be the cool thing to do. Do some cool storage mounts for some gear and some parts and stuff in there too, all while keeping a seat. I don't like hauling people.
I could center it or I could offset it. I don't know. We'll get to that when it gets to that point. I mean, the kid's not going to go wheeling for a couple of years, I would imagine. At least a year.
About right on par with the time we cut it all apart and redo it all again.
Yes.
See?
Perfect.
It all makes sense. And then we'll just put a tube chassis under it.
Yeah. So the reason I ended up going up through the floor pan with the shackle instead of doing something underneath is even if I did it underneath, I got fuel lines running down one frame rail. So I have to work around the fuel lines for a bracket.
Makes sense.
And then I got exhaust in the way on the other side. I'm tired of building cross members around the exhaust.
Well, and the problem is you don't want to drop that below the frame because you want the flat belly.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yep. I think it's clean. I think it's really clean. I saw a picture and I was kind of like, yep, looks good. Looks clean. It'll be functional.
It's going to be nice. I've already got a plate down there now to tie in for my hoop.
Yep.
For my B-pillar hoop, I can now tie into that plate. And I can even tie into that tube if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Tie into that tube, and it's going to be mounted to the frame, like straight mounted. And then after that, so basically I'm just setting it up for down the road. It's going to be better. I'm hoping.
Should be.
So I'm super excited to go wheeling in it because it's been over 2 years and I've changed so many things on it.
Yeah, it'll be a whole new rig.
Yep.
Yep.
New shocks all the way around. Limit straps up front. The new steering geometry. I'm super stoked about that.
Between the steering and the anti-wrap with the rear suspension, it's going to handle completely different.
Well, I had an anti-wrap before.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't that. It wasn't elaborate to this magnitude. Yeah.
I think it'll be nice. I think it'll handle a whole lot different.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be new.
The new shocks alone will help. Because before I just had like the Rusty's shocks on it, and they've been on there for probably 8 years. No, not 8 years. Probably 6 years or so. Yeah, they've been abused and dented.
Well used.
Leaked out. Oh, yeah.
Money.
You park it and you come back like, why is that shock all... Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why. It owes me nothing.
It's done.
Owes me nothing. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see. I can't wait to see it out on trail. It's been a while.
I'm excited to see how much wheel hop it has.
Hopefully none.
The
game plan is none.
So, maybe you know the answer to this question. When preloading your anti-wrap bar, do you preload it so that you're pushing weight? Do you preload it so the pinion is pushed down? Or do you preload it so that the pinion is pulled up? Do you follow me on that?
So, if I'm assuming what you're talking about, you're going to preload, like, basically set the shackle angle. Like a leaf spring, if that makes sense.
I'm leaving the shackle angle at 0.
Okay.
But what I'm doing, so I've got it all set up, and I put a jack underneath the anti-wrap bar, and I have to jack the anti-wrap bar up to the shackle, like an inch.
Yep.
So it pulls the snout up a little bit. It pulls up your pinion angle, and it puts load on it loads the leaf springs slightly.
I don't know the correct answer. My guess would be that you almost want it at 0 or down.
Or down.
Because it's going to wrap
up. So when it hits, it wraps up?
Yeah, it's going to wrap up. So you want it to start that. If you've already started the up with the preload, you're going to go up and up. And too much up is no bueno. So I would say, because it's not going to wrap down unless you're going backwards. Unless you're beating the shit out of it. That's why I'd say you'd want it closer to 0. Or, neutral. Essentially, you know what I mean?
We always preloaded them in the past, but the shackle was, I don't know. I just don't know the answer to that question.
I feel like this is a trial and error thing.
I thought you were an internet wheeler.
No, I don't
web
do
wheeler.
The technical aspects. It's more of the
pictures,
paint colors, color matching your trailer to your truck. To
that kind of web wheeling.
Yeah,
I like where you're going with this.
You gotta look good. So nobody cares about technical specs when your shit's spray painted different colors.
From home to the mall parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Via trailer.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say. Probably close as 0 as you could. Center it.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one or the other, I would say I'd almost want it pointed down just a slight bit because
when you stand on it,
you're going to stand on it forward more. I mean, if you're beating the hell out of something in reverse, more power to you. I think that's cool, but you don't really. No. Nobody really gets in a hurry to back up.
No.
You're going to beat on it going forward, which is going to wrap it up.
It's not going to have. I'll tell you this much right now. There's no play. Like there's no play in any of the hardware of that unit. Like it's solid,
which is awesome.
Yeah, that's a long way from the tractor joints I was using on the last one. That's what I'm most excited about is that there's no more tractor links anywhere on the vehicle.
Legit.
Everything
hind joints
is all hind joints. The geometry up front is so flat, just stupid flat. And so I'm so excited.
It's gonna be awesome. That's the best part.
You're
it's just gonna be great.
Yep, I cannot wait for that day. And that day should be the first for the hangover run.
Yep.
So, if anybody tunes into this, it's in the Illinois, Indiana area. the 4x4s, which is the off-road club that we belong to, is doing a hangover run at the Badlands on January 1st. So you guys want to come out, just hit us up.
Rain or shine.
Snow or shine. I hope it's snow. I hope we get 4 inches of snow.
Rain versus snow.
What?
Oh, I hate trailing things in the snow.
It's fine. We went over there for one time. We went over for like Toys for Tots or something like that. It snowed like 8 inches the night before.
Yep.
We trailed over on like 4 inches of snow on the interstate.
Snow wheeling's awesome. I've been like...
Oh, it was wonderful.
I've had an addiction here lately of watching these guys do like... And I'm not talking like we're going snow wheeling in a couple inches of snow. I'm talking like we are doing like 40-inch ruts in snow, 2 trucks pushing each other up these trails. Like, it is epic.
Where's is that?
I don't even know where it's at.
Washington?
Somewhere it's cold and they have a lot of snow, which nobody wants to be there.
Okay.
But...
You follow Beat Not Babied.
Yep.
Did you see that red Toyota that girl owns? And she's like side hilling the snow.
Probably.
You probably saw it.
I've probably seen
it. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a grainy clip, but it's like they're up in Washington. Oh, there's pine trees on either side. They're just snowed down. And then she's like up sideways on this thing. She's on 43s, I think. Jeez. But she's like up sideways on this embankment and just like cutting through that snow.
It's awesome.
Oh my God.
I would love to go snow wheeling, like epic
like
snow wheeling.
With somebody. Yeah.
Not in anything I own because I don't have a damn heater or floor guard sealed. But I would love to go in something like that with these guys because I think I'd be it's wild. It blows my mind that like, oh, you're gonna go drive through like 4 foot of snow. It's just insane.
Yep.
But let alone snow wheeling around here with a few inches of snow. It's neat because it changes the obstacle so much.
Yeah.
And not always in a predictable manner. Like, that's the key. Sometimes it's wet and slippery. Sometimes it's icy and slippery. Mm-hmm. It's like different levels of slippery.
Sometimes the snow provides traction.
And that's what's interesting about the snow wheeling is it's a little more unpredictable than probably just mud.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of adds some fun to it.
Like trail riding on fresh powder.
It's relaxing.
Like you're making the tracks. Yeah, everything's white.
It's so relaxing.
It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's quiet.
Scenic.
Yep.
Yeah,
you're making tracks everywhere you go.
Yep.
I like it. It's a good time. But yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting this thing out and going.
It's going to be cool.
Just got a few more questions, things that I got to figure out. One of those is the inner wrap. The other one's getting the back end all enclosed, getting the fuel tank covered up, and getting the false floor put in it. Got to get everything painted. There's so much raw metal everywhere.
That's what I'm not looking forward to. It's like everything. The best part about working on it now is it's stuffed in the garage.
You don't
have to paint anything. But my Lord, you are going to have to paint a lot when it's done.
Yep.
But
I got a lot. I'm just going to undercoat half of it.
Got to make it look good.
Yep.
No rust.
For sure. So lately, we talked about this in the last episode, but lately I've been getting into the overlanding aspect. And so this build, as it's progressed through this last 2 years, it's been pushing more towards that. So like the reason I got beadlocks and 40s is because I want to run like a 40-inch radial that I can run on the street. I want to be able to drive to somewhere if I want to go there. Like I don't want, one of the things that killed four-wheeling for me, I think, is when I got, I guess we didn't talk about this, in 2009, after I had or like maybe it was early 2010, but either way, after I got the 38s on it and had all that lift on it, I went to go leave the bar one night and they had a roadblock set up.
Oh boy.
And they popped me at the roadblock. Yep. 2 class 2 felony citations.
How I don't know, you could get a felony traffic ticket.
Felony. Huh. Illegal bumper height, illegal frame height.
Yep.
Class 2 felony. I was like, seriously? And he was like, oh, yeah. So that was a big ordeal. They were going to tow it home. I was like, you're not going to tow it home because by the time you call a tow truck, I'm going to have my friends here already picking it up with a trailer. You're not towing it anywhere. They were going to tow it. They were going to impound it.
Yep.
I was like, that's not a thing. He's like, oh, well, how far do you live? I was like, 2 miles. He's like, all right, we'll just drive it home. And
don't hit anybody with your stupid tall bumper.
Yeah, your quote-unquote stupid tall. Yeah. And that was the era of like the donks, when donks were real big in our area, and they were out running around. I'm like, you got all these guys running around on like 26-inch wheels with stock brakes. Like I got upgraded brakes. I have upgraded, I've upgraded all my things that I should.
They make a lift kit for a Jeep. They don't make a damn lift kit for a Monte Carlo 4-door. No.
A 94 Monte Carlo.
They don't manufacture legally a lift kit that bolts on.
Yeah.
So,
So I drove it home, and that was it. I couldn't drive on the street anymore. It got designated a trail rig per the state.
Because it was too tall.
Yep, because it was too tall.
Now,
not so much.
She's beautiful.
And she's still legal front bumper height, but
it doesn't.
But it's not going to draw attention.
It doesn't stand out and say, "Hey, look at me! I'm 6 foot in the air."
Yeah, right. Yep. It's not a monster truck anymore.
Yep.
I will miss the kids looking at me going, "Monster truck."
They still will. I love it. I love taking my junk to car shows because as nice as like a fully restored Chevelle or I love it. Appreciate it. All the hard work, kudos, all the above. But it is so fun taking your junk ass wheeling rigs to a car show. These kids freak out looking at it, and then you say, just throw them in the passengers or the driver's seat and let them sit in it.
Just throw them in there.
Don't worry about scratching the spray paint. It's so
it's
cool.
Not a big deal.
And you're like, that kid will have more fun sitting in my beat to hell off-road rig going, oh my gosh, then he will looking at a fully frame off mint restoration on a numbers matching Chevelle. The kid doesn't even care it doesn't have an engine as far as I'm concerned, and that's what's cool. It's cool to do stuff like that because it's just fun. It's cool sharing a hobby. You never know when you will spark some kid looking at your truck going, I want to be like that. And you're like, no, you don't, son.
You'll spiral that kid right into poverty at the age of 5.
Into debt real fast. Be bad. But hey, you got to blow your money on something in life.
This is true. So, that you do.
Yep.
But I love this hobby. I love the fact that you can go out and everybody is, everybody for the most part is friendly. You know, they want to help you. You break down on trails, somebody's going to stop and help you. It's not like, there's not a lot of competition. Everybody wants to share what they've got and show you what they've done and this and that.
The competition is getting everybody that you decide to go wheeling with, which the best part is it's not always the same people. It's not the same, 3 or 4 people all the time. You get different people, and the competition is everybody starts, everybody finishes. Whether you got to finish on a strap, getting pulled back to the parking lot.
No man left behind.
If there's everybody's got to get this guy's rig back up and running in the parking lot with tools. It's so cool because that's the competition. Around. The competition is
who can be the most helpful.
Everybody wants, we want to get our crew through this park or trail or whatever. And it doesn't matter if you're on stock. I've wheeled with so many different people where you're like by far the most capable and then by far you're the least. And it's always cool because sometimes it's neat that you can use your wheeling experience and help someone who may not have as much or may not have had the opportunity to do it as much. Have a little faith and confidence and spot them maybe through an obstacle or give them a little confidence that they wouldn't have done it themselves. And then they go, oh, I can do this. And then it just pushes, everybody pushes each other to try more, do more, hit bigger rocks and all this. And that's the cool thing. Everybody wants to, I don't want to break your stuff, but I want you to be able to use your stuff better to wheel more. And that's the cool part.
I get a lot of joy out of being a spotter.
I love it.
Where you come up on somebody and they're trying to get up an obstacle and they're having a hard time with it, and you show them the line, take this line right here, and then they just walk up and they're just like, how did I do that? Like that kid, I didn't think I was gonna make it up it, And you're like, hey man, it's all about the line. Like you pick the right line, you're gonna make it.
Inches, game of inches.
The game of inches. That's a fact. I'm again super stoked. 110-inch wheelbase from 103. I cannot wait. To see what that does for me.
That'll be nice.
I don't think I'm gonna have as much flex as I used to have because of my limiting straps and my new shocks up front.
It flexes and all.
Hang a tire.
Not everything.
Hang a tire. It flexes more than Liberty, and Liberty does fine.
See, there you go. The problem is it'll work.
Half of it's the driver. Yep. At least half.
I mean, you can make up for not as long as you know what the rig will do.
Right.
You can get through some pretty cool stuff.
All right. Yep. So, Well, you want to wrap this one up?
We can. I don't know if we covered everything we had to cover.
We cover it?
Know everything and everything.
Axle swap right there. That's it. That was the bottom of the arrow.
Bottom of the arrow.
Oh, plug the IGs.
Plug the IGs.
We forgot.
What's your personal Instagram? My
personal Instagram, you guys can find me at... Oh, I got to think what it is.
Damn.
I don't even know now.
They can't follow you.
Is it?
They don't know what it is.
I have too many Instagram accounts. I got 4 of them.
The problem is trying to keep them all straight.
Oh, man.
That is the problem.
Is it low_key?
Well, see, you just changed your Instagram now that we have...
Did I do 2 underscores or 1? I think I did 2. It's low_KEE_XJ.
Yep.
On Instagram.
Yep.
That's where you can find me. Sorry, that took a little bit.
It was new. It's still new.
It's newish. Last couple months. You can find this podcast at total_offroad_podcast because I like the underscores.
Underscores make you cooler apart from everyone else.
Yeah. It just makes you stand out a little bit.
Yep. And of course, keeping with the underscore thing.
Where can I find Ian?
Mine is on offroad_Ian.
There we go.
Yep. We got to keep the underscores going.
You guys can DM us at any of those pages. If you guys got questions, comments, want to tell us how to do our job a little bit better so that you like the podcast.
Tell us how not to suck.
How not to suck.
We got lots of pictures too.
Yeah. We got pictures on the gram.
All the pictures.
That's what we do there. And while we're in the mood of plugging things, I want to plug some of the guys that got me interested in doing this and have helped me into getting this podcast up and running. First and foremost is Mike and Max's Offroad podcast. If you guys are listening to podcasts, you found this podcast and you're not listening to their podcast,
that's
doing
impressive.
It wrong.
That's impressive. Like, kudos to us.
Kudos to us.
Yep.
But you're doing it wrong. You need to go check them out. That's Mike and Max's Offroad podcast. If you search Offroad on almost any platform, they're going to be one of the first ones to come up. Their podcast is excellent. Another one is Snail Trail 4x4. That is Jimmy and Tyler. That's Jimmy Jet. And you can check those guys out. They're both on Instagram as well. But go check out their podcast. Again, that's Snail Trail 4x4. It's 4x4. And they've got a bunch of episodes up, a bunch of good information. Tyler is super knowledgeable when it comes to ham radios. So that's something that really, I really got interested in that. And I'm working on getting my license for the ham radio.
They've all been very helpful. That's a nice thing.
Yeah.
You would think it's a competing podcast. I don't care.
Yeah.
Everybody, people listen to shit all the time.
I told Mike and Max, I was like, dude, I'm thinking about doing a podcast, and I like what you guys are doing, and I think that I can contribute to this.
Yep.
And both of them instantly replied. They're like, "Oh man, do it, you know." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait till I get some better audio equipment." And they're like, "No, just do it now. Just get it out. Just start doing it."
That's the mind blowing thing that everybody's been so supportive. There's not been anybody who's like, "Oh, they're steeling our listeners." No.
Right? Yeah.
And that's the neat thing about it.
But when you put out an hour a week of podcasting, for me, so I drive a truck for a living, and I can binge all of the podcasts that come out in a week. I can binge them in one day. So when I run out of hours to listen, I'm like, well, what else can I find?
Now what do I do? The worst part is running out of your weekly podcast that you're going to listen to.
Yeah.
And you're like halfway through your drive.
That sucks.
And you go, damn.
Now what?
What do you put Pandora or any kind of music on, you're like, but I want somebody talking to me.
But I want somebody telling me about four-wheelers.
It just ruins the rest of your drive. It's horrible.
This is gonna take forever.
Horrible. So that's why we give you more content to listen to.
When I listen to, so I've still got a lot of catching up to do on Snail Trail because they've got 100 and something episodes.
They drop a lot of content.
Yeah, and they're all an hour, over an hour each, because I think Tyler likes to talk. But those guys, they've got some awesome content, and so I've got a lot of catching up to do with them. But I've already binged out Mike and Max's. I've already binged out on Offroad Garage podcast, and so every time they come out, I'm like, yeah, and I listen to the hour, and I get done, I'm like, oh,
I want more.
It's over. Yeah, I want more. Like I said, Jim tells a hell of a story on Offroad Garage podcast, so I love listening to that. And then another one you guys should check out if you haven't yet is Wheeling Wine and Whiskey. That's another good podcast. Those guys are out of, I think it's NorCal or like Central Cali area, but it's somewhere in like wine country-ish area. So they got some cool stuff. If you like whiskey, those two guys know a lot about whiskey and like to talk about whiskey. So along with four-wheeling. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. I just want to plug those guys. Really appreciate their help in getting this going. They really kind of showed me the way to how to get this up and running. So
got some good plans going for this podcast, though.
Yeah.
We got some cool ideas. We got some cool guest ideas.
Yes.
We got some super knowledgeable people that are entertaining also.
Maybe some apparel.
Yep. Everybody likes swag. Everybody likes stickers. We'll get some stickers.
Some stickers.
But yeah, but I think we got a good direction going based on everybody's assistance and help, and I think it'll be good.
Yep. I hope it's a good launch. So again, this is episode 2. These are our intros. Now you guys kind of know a little bit about us, how we got into four-wheeling, what our experience level is, so to speak. And we're probably going to be talking about a bunch of other stuff after this.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Wheeling. I'm ready.
Wheeling everything. We'll wheel it all.
All right. We're out of here. And we will catch you guys on the trail.